All right, you ready?
I'm not even gonna cuss.
Okay. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, episode 5 with the Austin Starnes, better known as Dig It Starnes.
Yeah, go check out my YouTube. I've got cooler videos than this guy, but yeah, we're getting there.
As I was saying, better known to me is some jackass that I met on TikTok. But no, definitely killing it
We're
on
in
TikTok
Ugala.
and YouTube. We're in Talala.
Talala?
Ulaga, south of Nowata.
Is it no water? You swear? There's a lake right over there, but no water's right upstream.
No water's right up there. Yeah.
Okay.
They're not upstream. All right. Anyway,
Everything was named by Oompa Loompas.
yeah, apparently so.
Or Joe Biden.
Yeah, no. I thought you were going there.
Okay, yeah, can't, not okay, no politics.
Account number
Got it.
17 before it's over.
Okay.
Oh, so what have you been up? Well, tell us what you've been up to.
Rain, and more rain. That's the only reason I'm here today, is because it was raining this morning, and there's no way my job site's going to be dry at all tomorrow. So today's Monday. I left at like 9 o'clock Monday morning, hooked up the gooseneck, going down to pick up a machine that I bought like 5 weeks ago. They're probably ready to get it off the lot. He was like a 20-minute detour off the highway, and he wanted to do a podcast anyway, and I was like, well, what about I do it in person tomorrow? He's like, huh? And I'm like, I mapped it out. You're literally 20 minutes out of the way. I'll just grab a hotel room a little bit short.
Yeah,
so
it worked out perfect. We've been trying to get on the same schedule. Shit, probably a year now. It seems like
Yeah.
trying to get a podcast done, and then here as of the last couple of weeks, really trying to schedule one and get to it, and then it worked out perfect when he said he was just going to come by.
Yeah.
Now tell him what happened when you did come by.
We had to bury some cows. Apparently, when there's no trees around and the cows are the only thing in the middle of a field during a thunderstorm, the lightning likes cows.
And they are very conductive, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So now
I'm surprised they didn't explode.
yeah, so it's very unfortunate. I got off the phone with him and was in the skid steer and got a call that it was originally one cow got struck by lightning, then it was 2. We ended up burying 3. So yeah, I figured what better situation than Starnes shows up. Yeah, he shows up.
Well, it's weird. It's like, it seems like decent. This is dirt. It looks like it holds water. So is it like it has enough clay to hold water?
And like out here, well, that's where a lot of this soil came from. It's a side note, but at least on our pastures, there's a good 1.5 foot of topsoil, and then you hit shell, and like down there was some shell pushing through that.
Yeah, because he was digging down and just like hit shale rock.
Yeah, like
And it wasn't that deep.
no, that was probably 7 foot until I hit those sheets, maybe 5 to 7 foot. But that was like, yeah.
So right down there's a lake. So how deep does that lake get?
You know, that's a good question.
Ulaga Lake.
Yeah, you've got another 30 minutes to not screw up that word.
Ulaga Lake.
Ulaga. So no, it's deep. How deep? I couldn't freaking tell you. But
Say deep. It's probably like 15 feet deep at the max.
no, we're gonna look it up.
Well, both of our phones. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the IT guy?
Yeah,
The wind. Where's the mic? I don't have a mic, so we're just gonna have to work with the wind. It's not as windy as it was. We're just gonna roll with it.
yeah, we're in Oklahoma. This is pretty still. So.
Yeah. I don't have a mic. I got one that was supposed to work for a GoPro. It didn't work for a GoPro. It works for my phone, but I have to use an adapter because it's meant to like plug it. I got the cheap one. It doesn't work right.
So I actually bought headphones and a like tabletop mic and shit for the podcast, but
Where's it at?
I've yet to do. Well, I didn't want to be the only one out here looking professional, and then you're sitting over here. we're sitting on an ice chest and a bucket,
Yeah.
and we've got a skid steer phone holder. So, I don't know. So you said you've been getting a lot of rain.
A lot of rain, so it's gonna be. Guys had like a half day today, just doing some whatever they could, pumping out some ponds that we're working on, and moving a machine, and then. Hopefully Wednesday it's dry enough to start doing some digging on some sites that we have and running the haul truck around, and then we're working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, trying to play catch up from the rest of the stuff. So it's going to be a pretty busy week. So hopefully we don't get any more rain. We get enough stuff done that we can have Sunday off. Hopefully keep some jobs rolling in. We're lined out about 4 weeks right now, but like to get a lot more than that.
Is it pretty typical this time of year for you, like as compared to the last few years?
It is slower than it's been, quite a bit slower, and it's slower on like the residential side, like the people that are normally spending $10,000 to $20,000 on either clearing or putting in ponds. That's typically like the bread and butter. Like in a month, I like to be able to knock out like 3 or 4 of those, and they're $10,000 to $20,000 jobs, and we'll work some long hours on those. And I mean, there's been times where, you know, we can even get 6 of them knocked out in a month. And you know, if you've got 3 machines running and you're able to bring in, you know, $60,000-$80,000 a month, then you know that's pretty. You're not running to the bank or anything, but that's what you need. You know, that's kind of typical. Anything more than that, but that's where on the commercial jobs you're always going to make a higher percentage. But filling in with all those other jobs, or if guys want extra time, or you know, we'll work 60-hour weeks and get some more of that stuff done just to put some money away for winter. But we'll see. I'm hopeful that the rest of the year, and we're pinpointing the advertising and spending just a little bit of money on advertising and getting good results. So hoping to just keep expanding onto that.
Yeah. I hate to
You've
hear
been
it,
doing
but
this. You've been getting away from doing the smaller stuff.
yeah, we've been trying to kind of transition out of the little stuff. We've talked a lot about this, trying to focus more on higher end residential and commercial. And we knew we would hit that pivot point where things got slower, and that's kind of where we're at now. We're trying to hold off and stick to the plan, and it's working. You know, we're starting to get more and more bigger stuff, which we've done a lot of big stuff in the past, but it was a lot, you know, a lot less frequent than what we're.
You got to reset up your business. Instead of doing all things in a day, you want to do one thing for 3 days. So that takes a transition period, and it's the same type of thing. And then once you transition from those stuff to more commercial stuff, I'm at that awkward point right now where I can't do all commercial because I don't have the contacts yet, but I'm also starting to get away from 1 and 2 day jobs.
Right. Yeah, same here, where we're, like I was telling you, we turned in a couple of commercial bids for the first time, where we've actually sought out that work instead of just waiting on it to come to us. Question on it?
Yeah, it's a Caterpillar excavator. People were asking. It's a Caterpillar. It's a black cat. And then my phone's sitting on a Bobcat, and then there's a Bobcat behind us. That's a T595. Those are actually good machines because they're a 75 horsepower T590. T590 frame, extra 10 horsepower.
This one's been super solid for us. I've got a 323 Deer that's been missing the drive motor for a couple months now. Yeah, I've been on the phone with them 100 times. Deer wanted 6,800. Loader Parts Source is supposed to be building a new one and sending it to me. So still waiting on that. They're waiting on parts to get in to build it and send it to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of. He's got the stand-on machine, that Deer dump trailer, like 3 Dodges around here, semi, gooseneck, bumper pull trailer, dump truck. What else did I forget?
Pedal hitch. Well, too much. You forgot too much. I need to sell some shit. If anybody wants the gold 2nd gen, holler at me. I haven't posted it yet.
What are people saying on here? What do we got? Fiber Central Illinois will do. I do sometimes. I'm trying to, I don't know, I'm watching some stuff at auction this week because this machine that I bought this time around, the whole reason I'm this way is because I have an International 500 Series E, and they only made that one for 2 years. So it's a torque converter one. But there's no difference between the International 500C or the International 500 torque converter, but technically it's like the latest C, but it's the torque converter one, is the same thing, but when they revamped it or whatever, they just named it the E series torque converter. So I think this one's like 500C Series E torque converter. It's weird. It was like a weird production run, but I got the dozer for free from my neighbor. Super bad shape. It sat in the woods for like 9 years with everything undone. And you can see the full story on that on my YouTube, Dig It Starnes. I have like a 13-minute video of what actually happened and how it came into my possession. But I have a spare engine, but the issue is the motor's locked up. Can't get it free. So I can't just pull the motor because it has a torque converter. I got to get to the torque converter bolts to separate the motor from the torque converter in the bell housing to get it out. Well, the motor won't spin over, so I can't access that. So then you have to go further back in the machine to the transmission. You got to pull the transmission and that, flip it around, take a gas axe to it, and just start torching everything apart. The wiring is a mess.
So it has like a sight hole to get your torque converter bolts out.
Correct.
And you can't spin it to your bolts.
Correct. So the solution is to take it out.
Nitrous.
Take it out, flip it upside down, put it on a bench, oil pan off, just start torching everything off. But the other problem is this one was stuck in gear. The brake bands on it are in bad shape. They're seized. The wiring's a rat's nest. So it just got to be so much more. So this machine that I'm picking up, supposedly, all the functions work. The electronics are intact. The clutches work. It steers. It goes forwards. It goes backwards. The gears all work, but the engine is non-running. But it turns over. And it has the composite coupler that you can't find anywhere. You got to get it custom made. So everything is ready. Engine out, engine in. This thing runs. In an even better case, it says that the injection pump is the issue. Well, I have 2 injection pumps sitting there. One on a non-running motor that was just rebuilt before it got stuck and everything happened. And then one on this motor that I got running. So best case scenario, I can time it to that fuel pump, switch over just the fuel pump, rock and roll, switch some parts over, take the better of the 2, and then have a spare of absolutely everything. So that's kind of how all that.
Is that gear driven, I guess, that injection pump off the front? Or how is it?
Yeah, it should be gear driven, yeah.
Is it a bitch to get all that off the front, or can you just pull the timing cover and fix your marks?
So, not sure.
Not sure yet.
Because I've never seen the front end fully assembled. Because when it got stuck, my neighbor started pulling stuff off of it, and he pulled the intake, and he pulled the radiator, and he pulled this other stuff to preserve it. Well, the cylinder head became a squirrel and mouse nest.
Oh.
So he wasn't preserving anything. If he would have left it together and just left it the way that it was, I could have pulled it out of the woods and fired it up.
Right, because it was at least sealed.
Yes, the motor is 4,000. This machine, by the time I drive down there and back and everything, I'm going to have $6,000 into this. But if I can get it back running and everything, and I can put the ripper on the rear of that machine, take the best parts, blast it down, repaint it, little restoration deal, then it should be worth in the neighborhood of like $12,000. So I'm not going to be upside down on it. I'm just going to keep it for myself. So
what's that one weigh?
About with the ripper, probably closer to 11,000. So 10, 11,000. It's not real heavy.
Yeah.
Like the size of it. Like what's the weight on that? Little bit heavier than the machine behind us. Not by a whole lot. I mean, what's cool about it's just a little 55 horse 3-cylinder naturally aspirated diesel 6-way blade with a 3-shank ripper on the back. Just a cool little, for building trails, it's perfect.
I never had any sort of aspiration for something that small in the desert world. I hopped on one of the shell pit the other day and they loaded me and it's like, oh, what the hell? He's moving all the shell around to the front. And I was like, I'll hop on it real quick, help you push some shell. And maybe it was the same exact size you're talking about, like around 10, 12,000 pound was
real small.
Yeah, I wanted it bad. Yeah. Just because like we've talked about a lot, you take a big skid steer versus a small dozer and just the pushing capabilities of that one. And just
having the 6-way blade that's not an attachment and you can actually shape stuff and move stuff along. I mean, for cutting like little drainage ditches and for like, where I'm at in Missouri, there's like flat grounds and there's hills and there's woods. So let's say it'd be if I ended up selling it, it'd be to somebody that they'd probably stick it on like their hunting property And what they're going to do with that, they're going to use it to build trails. Because you can maneuver the blade every which way, track it all around, steel tracks. It doesn't matter if it's rocky. Because who wants, on rocky ground, who wants a $3,000 set of rubber tracks getting torn up in 250 hours?
When you're talking about a $12,000 machine versus a
Yeah.
50, 60, 80, 100, whatever you want to spend.
You don't want to be tearing it up.
Right.
What do we got here? I do not plan on doing another giveaway because it was a bust both times and I had hundreds of hours into them. And at the scale we were doing, it was not worth it at all. The last one didn't quite break even and I had hundreds of hours into it that I should have been spending doing other things. So it's not economical at all.
Damn.
Somebody got a really nice dozer for the cost of 2 t-shirts and a hat, though. So good for them. His name's Thorne.
Thorne.
Thorne. I thought that was an interesting one. So yeah, he's got it. He's a traveling nurse. Never ran a dozer before. I gave him the rundown. Our schedules. I kind of went there, dropped it off, gave him a quick rundown. He's only a few hours away from me, so we actually want to set something up to where I actually kind of give him more of a tutorial. But he actually just had his first son, like, I think 2 weeks ago. So
Probably not spending a lot of dozer time.
No. But he's in the future, they're going to be building a house on their grandparents' land that's going to be given to them. So he said that he's going to put it to use when they build their new house on the farm. So
Oh, yeah.
hopefully see that happen.
Yeah, it was a good charitable thing, if nothing else.
Oh, God, yeah. It stresses me out just thinking about it.
Well, I want to circle back real quick to the dozer blade deal. Have you ran an attachment for a skid steer, a 6-way blade?
I have. I used to have one. I used it about 3 times, and I paid $7,000 for it.
Was it complete junk? The reason I'm asking is I've been looking I've been really considering it. I can't pass one on Facebook Marketplace without clicking on it, staring off at the wall for 30 seconds to try.
The one that I got was built like a brick shit house. It was a deer-made one, and the thing was like 1,600 pounds. Like, it was no joke. But the problem is it doesn't lock into the frame. That's where you see like the Minotaur in the case, whatever. Same thing as the Minotaur, just rebranded. Or no, the case is the New Holland one. New Holland's the exact same thing, just case New Holland, CNH, same thing. But it locks into the frame, which gives you that pushing power. Because if you don't work it real precisely, in dirt and in clay where I'm working at, it's really hard.
My thoughts
loose material, it's great.
That was exactly what I was about to say.
People use them with GPS grading large parking lots, and they just use a skid steer. So it's cheaper to do that. Rubber tracks, they can do loose material with rubber tracks so it doesn't kick it up like the single bar grousers.
Right.
So it ends up costing less than a dozer to equip it with the automatic.
Makes sense.
And then use that
Like
blade
the
on a
smart
skid
grade,
steer
smart grade.
when you're doing large pads and spread. But if it gets much larger than that, you're probably just going to want to use a motor grader.
Right. Yeah, just take a road grader on it and be done.
It's like, that's what Black Mountain Excavation does. They use road graders for their big pads and stuff, and they use them on their projects just in general.
Yeah.
I don't ever see myself getting into road graders. I'd love to run one.
I feel like I would suck at running one.
That depends.
It's got to be one of the hardest things to run.
The new ones are crazy. It's joystick steer,
Yeah,
joystick buttons and everything. But the old piano key ones,
that's what I mean.
especially the ones that aren't hydraulic, those ones.
The Let's Dig 18, you ever watch that guy on YouTube?
Yeah.
That guy, he can run the shit out of anything, but watching him on a road grader, the old style ones, it's cool to watch. I feel like I'd suck at it.
Yeah. I want to get one, but you find them and it's like, it'll be like 60 years old but still runs good, like an old Caterpillar one from like the 50s. And you're like, oh, that'd be sweet. But they sell for like $10,000.
Right.
And you're like, how?
Right.
But they just keep going. I'd love to have one. My buddy has one. And it's a pony motor start. It's sitting up at his shop. But every time I've been working with him a lot recently, helping him on some projects. And we're always too busy to mess with it. I'm like, one day I'm running that thing.
Yeah.
but it's no hydraulics whatsoever. Pony motor start. It's like a late 40s Caterpillar motor grader.
So what actually is that? Cable? No, that's way over.
So
I don't know shit.
all of these levers, they're connected to like a spinning shaft. So basically, they call them wrist breakers because it's almost like, a PTO shaft, like
Right.
getting it in at just the right point. I would explain it like floating a gear in a dump truck or a semi, or any vehicle for that matter. It's like you float the gear. So like you get it in there just right, and then it spins shafts. So to tilt the blade, it's spinning a PTO shaft. So the main one is always live, and all these levers are connected to a different shaft and U-joint and spline that go all over the machine. So when you engage it one way or the other, it's either spins it clockwise or counterclockwise.
I've got to watch.
So you got to slip them in, slip them out. I think you can do multiple features at once. But they're like, yeah, if it kicks out or something, your hand's still on, it'll bust your hands.
I've heard of that part. Huh? Learned something new. I gotta watch a video on that. I've never knew that's how they work. No wonder they keep going.
Yeah, it's all shaft driven.
Screw that. What a shitty
U-joints out the ass.
Yeah, yeah. That makes you wonder how they keep going.
And you have to steer.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. 100%.
And you have to steer and do the throttle.
Grading the shit out of a road, right through the ditch and the fence.
Oh yeah, you got to use your tongue, your forehead, all your feet.
Well, that's one of the first videos. Speaking of feet, one of the first videos I ever saw you make. I'm pointing at the little bobcat that the camera's sitting on. Was about foot controls versus joysticks versus H-pad.
I don't care how good you are on foot controls, you will never be faster than somebody mediocre on joysticks. It's not possible. Yeah. The precision, and I promise you, I ordered a brand new machine with foot controls, and then I ordered a track loader, and foot controls were no longer an option in deer machines. As soon as I got that joystick control machine, I didn't feel as tired at the end of the day. My work was better. My work was faster. And within 2 months, that foot control machine was gone.
No, so totally agree. I'd like to disagree, but this one is a hand-foot control. This one's ISO joystick, and my deer is H-pad.
Oh God!
Yeah,
it's only H-pattern.
Yeah.
Oh God!
So it's
that's horrific.
Yeah, dude. But the first time I got in it, it felt natural just because I was used to hand-foot. So it was like you brought your feet straight up. So your right side still did what it did. But when I got this one, these things haul ass.
Yeah.
Like,
does that one do H pattern too?
Yeah, it's got a switch.
Yeah.
So I was grading a pond dam right back here when I first got it, and it's got a creep mode where you can turn it down.
Okay, so yours are just like EH joysticks.
Yeah.
Because there's some that are like that H pattern over there, where they go like this, but you still got to go like that. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I got so used to the deer, and I can still run it with one hand, like I can still text or whatever, because I'll hook my knee behind it, which I taught myself running this one for so long. So, like, I'll hook up if I'm grading and drive with both knees and do whatever I need to do with no hands. But I had to put this one in creep mode to figure out how to run it. Not because the controls didn't bother me at all.
Just because you wanted to, you kept.
Well, no. So it wasn't even that, because I knew it's a natural movement. ISO joysticks, that's a natural.
Here's where you want to go. Here's your.
Yeah, and none of that was the issue. It was just being so responsive and so quick, fast moving. I about rolled it off the freaking pond dam, and I had to put it on like 75% speed to figure out.
You can dial down.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
have that in mind.
Yeah,
and I'll never get anything without.
Well, and when I got it, or before I picked this up, I was talking to a buddy who has it, and he was like, "Oh, it's handy." And I was like, "I'll never." That's
you use it?
Yeah, I was like, "I'll never use it."
You
and
use
I get it, and hell, I'm using it on the first day to try to figure out how to.
I'll tell my guys, they're like running around, spinning around. I'm like, chill. I'll tell them, be like, you're limited to 70%.
Really?
Because they want to go. I'm like, you're spilling material everywhere. You're going too fast. You're ripping around corners. Limited to 70%.
And then you can run it as fast as you freaking want to.
Right. Because you can do sensitivity. So I have 3 levels of sensitivity. And then I can do 100% on speed all the way down to 5%. So what's nice about you're like, well, that's stupid. Why would you want to go down that low? Imagine you're running a trencher.
Yeah.
And you're bouncing back and forth, and the trencher's bouncing, and you're hitting rocks.
Yeah.
So you set it down to like, Harley rake's a great example. So you set it at like 20%.
Or the brush cutter that's on it right now.
Yeah, or the brush cutter, exactly. So you just set that speed and you just go forward, and it's smooth and consistent.
And that may not sound like that big of a deal if you're running it for 30 minutes or an hour or 2 hours. When you spend all day long trying to find that happy medium, especially as responsive as this one is, I'll be brush cutting and then you hit a bump and you're back to, you're just constantly wearing yourself out trying to hold it. And like you said, set that creep.
It makes me mad. I get mad. Like, I stop and I'm just like,
yeah,
when stuff's just jerking around like that, it's infuriating.
Well, it's like when you were riding up here when I was trying to pull off the road, and excavators, when you're driving with your feet, like you hit a bump and your feet aren't on there just right, and you hit the
feet are wobbling all over the place.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'll get pissed and put my feet on the floor and have to reset.
Oh yeah.
No, I'd like to argue, but I think I made a TikTok about this the other day. ISO joysticks is hands down the way to go.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's this was the first one I have ever ran in my life. I didn't even know what a skid steer was when I started running this, and it's like riding a bike. I mean, I can hop back in it forever, and it never. It's like I know which machine I'm in.
Yeah, I can run hand and foot control no problem. I just want to.
Right.
If I had an old yard machine or something I'd like to have an old tire machine just to have around.
Like this one.
Just to load stuff up on a trailer. Exactly.
I love this little machine.
Something that's cheap and reliable and just does the job.
Yeah.
Just can throw some stuff around.
So this is our rule. At least when I have people working for me, this is what screens soil, because there's money in the soil screening operation. But for our setup,
you're not going to use that machine to screen soil because that one can be somewhere making money.
Right. And even if it's here, when you figure track wear, you figure just the new, the how much it costs versus this one. And then, mainly the freaking track zip.
Beat up the old one.
Yeah. And the bucket is, it'll handle this bucket no problem, and it's bigger than that one.
Yeah, tires are cheap.
Right. So, that's the rule. The only shitty part about it is the open cab, man. It is unbearable sometimes with the dust.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll literally pour it on the screen and then just hold your breath and back away.
Well, put on your mask. Didn't you do it for 2 years like we were supposed to?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't go anywhere. No, that's the only reason I had one. When COVID hit, I was like, everybody's like, I gotta go buy a mask. I'm like, dude, I've got a handful of them in my yard machine out here for screening soil. But you have to have headphones, safety, some sort of glasses, and a mask.
Yeah.
And just hold your breath still. It's brutal. But
hook an oxygen tank on the back.
Dude, now you're thinking that, or hear me out, put a freaking cab on it.
Whoa. With no air conditioning.
Ooh, no, I didn't say that.
I don't even know if you could hook up air conditioning to this machine.
Probably not. Probably didn't have the horsepower. Speaking of no air conditioning, the all black 312 here has no air conditioning. And when I say unbearable, I mean it's unbearable. On a hot day when it's 102 out and you're sitting in there, you can't even see.
Why is there no air conditioning?
So, because there just ain't, all right? There's just not.
Okay, good reason.
Dude, all right, let's open this can. I haven't made this TikTok yet. In the Freightliner, the dump truck, there is a 5,000 watt inverter under the seat and a plug-in living room air conditioner. It's like this tall probably, and it's made for a house.
5,000 watts does it?
So yeah, dude. So I read that like 2,000 to 3,000 watt would get you by. Like would run a regular, decent size house.
You're making plenty of power on that alternator.
Yeah, so I saw people doing it with like pickups, and I'm like, okay, well I got 2 giant ass batteries and a, industrial alternator. So running a 5,000 watt inverter and that little air conditioner, I'm mad because everybody I've told about this acted like I was the biggest redneck in the world, and I tell you about it, and you're like, dude, tell me more. I gotta do.
Yeah,
this.
No, that's great.
So, no, you can see a draw. I had a 10,000 BTU air conditioner in there at one point, and
get a red dot.
So that was my next step, because Trey was talking, and you were telling me about the red dot. Well, why I was too lazy to try to mock up a compressor on the belt and run a new figure out the diagram and figure out how
they should. I'd think for like that engine that there'd be a bracket that they sell that works for it.
Well, it has a compressor on it.
Oh.
So it probably wouldn't be that hard. Same with this tractor.
Well, does the blower motor on it work?
On the dump truck, yes, but the amount of duct tape that's on the ducts, I don't know I don't remember where the hell it comes out. The blend door doesn't work.
Okay.
You know, there's and then I took the.
Well, if you could just run it off of that, if you already have a compressor, then you don't need a compressor. If you can just
run it off of that compressor.
Run it off of that compressor.
Well, I'm sure that compressor's junk and every other thing in that air conditioning system.
Right, but if you can use the same bracket.
Yeah, you're talking about put the red dot
because
compressor on it.
The red dots, then you'd put. Do you have to put a condenser, or is the condenser within the red dot system?
I think from what you guys told me, it's within the system, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never.
Trey said they'll freeze you out of the thing.
Well, the dump truck was getting a little hot the other day, so to really just finish off my decision of not fixing the air conditioner, I took off the condenser to give myself a little bit more square inches of radiator room, and it helped. So, anyway, as of now, there's a freaking inverter, because guess what you can't do with your red dot air conditioning system? Run a grinder, run a shop vac. You know what I mean? Run anything else that you would plug into your house. I can do all of that. And you can run, so I have a generator basically without the gas can anywhere that dump truck is. And if I do the track hill as well, either the dump truck or the track hill is on basically every site I'm on. One or the other or both. And I was talking to a buddy of mine works for Cat, and he's got one in his service truck. And he was like, yeah, I can run a grinder off mine, no problem. And a grinder seems to me, I don't know, like you said, the pixie dust or whatever, however many.
Yeah, like a 110 grinder, those are a good amount of power.
Right.
So I have an inverter in my truck bed, and I tried making a pot of coffee with it. Can't do it.
So he can run his grinder off of that while charging all his batteries and all that stuff. He has I go look, he has a 2,000 watt inverter. Mine's 2.5 times that size.
Mine's good enough for charging batteries, and
which is handy. But
it'll run a set of Christmas lights.
I don't know. I don't want to know why you know that. So, but it'll run, like it'll freaking power. Like if I lose power, I can pull the damn dump truck up to the porch and plug into the freaking house. So
I don't know. That seems like a lot.
No, you can for sure. No problem. Don't ask. Anyway,
how big is this inverter?
Big.
Yeah.
It's big.
So I'm saying, like, I have a 5,500 watt generator and it runs my whole camper.
Well, this is a 5,000 watt, so you should have just.
I just did the math on, like, okay, the truck, and then can the alternator supply that inverter?
That's where it would matter. And so far I'm not having any trouble. The most I get down to when it's running full tilt is like 13.5 volts. How many watts, amps? I have no clue. That means nothing to me. I have a gauge that tells me volts, so I go off that. It'll start right back up, no problem. Haven't had any issues. But here's the thing. Just because I have a 5,000 watt inverter, I'm not using all 5,000 watts. You know, I'm probably using 2,000 to 3,000, let's say, or less. I went overkill with it because I was like, I want to be able to run anything. It was $50 more. So I was like, well, I'm not an idiot. I mean, I am, but
I've always bought cheap inverters. I'm just like, eh. Apparently, if you get a good one, though.
I wouldn't know. Mine's from Harbor Freight.
That's probably could be better than the ones that I've been buying.
That's probably, it could be.
I'm talking like on sale at AutoZone. I guarantee you Harbor Freight's are probably better.
Probably so. It's the warranty that I stick by with Harbor Freight.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's
I like how you can just exchange it. Like if you're missing, I brought in their 3/4 inch breaker bar, and it's like 5 foot long, and I brought it in. It was bent from prying on the skid steer. I'm like, yeah, guys, like, huh, impressive. Swapped it out for a new one.
Yeah, I just pulled on it, dude. It just folded over.
Yeah.
No, yeah. When I had the diesel shop, when we were mechanicing, I bought. You know, I couldn't afford anything. That was back when I had $100 in my account if I was lucky. We would wait until we needed a tool. Like we'd literally go to town and be like, oh, we need a freaking, you name it, dude. Like we didn't have it. We need a 3/8 ratchet. I guess we need to just go buy one then. Like we didn't have anything, so everything came from Harbor Freight. And there wasn't that, like, we use tools how they were not intended to be used. And I'm a Snap-on guy, I'm a Proto guy, like, I like good tools, but...
If you can't afford them, you can't afford them.
Yeah, exactly. And we used the shit out of these Harbor Freight. We had a little spot under the tool bench where the broke tools went. And like I said, there wasn't very many. And once we finally moved back to town, we'd gather up our tools and walk in there and, here, these broke. And they hand
That's
you
where I
ones.
get a lot of my tools. A lot of them.
I'm not, like you said, I can't say that it's as good as the big names, but
with the way that I beat on it and throw it in the mud and use it in the belly of a machine,
yeah,
and throw it and like, why it does the same job.
When we were working on it, we had the plates off of the bottom of this Traco, and we found a handful. I haven't had the machine very long, and we were finding tools. Like, oh, somebody left a socket in here, and I look at it, I'm like, it's my socket. I left it. If that would have been Snap-on, you know, like I'm way more careful. I've got wrench sets that are Snap-on and stuff like that, but yeah, I bought those. Like
Nothing beats a $6 set of sockets.
Yeah. That's my take.
I just have like a big box of like miscellaneous, not a single 10mm.
Never. Yeah, 100%. But no, I don't know. Like I said, so far my plan is to stick a inverter in the Treco, and I've measured it off with an actual measuring tape. I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, that's 2 hands, and you know, that's elbow to finger. Yeah. that ought to fit in there. I actually measured it with a measuring tape, and
Think it'll fit?
yeah. Well, I forgot my numbers in my head from there to here, so I used the measuring tape, but my numbers may not be right.
So where would you put the AC?
Behind the seat.
And it'll fit, you think?
Yeah, there's like a little tray back there, which is stupid because you gotta, you know, you're waist deep to get anything out of it.
Right.
So I never use it. Everything goes in the front floorboard.
It's like a lunchbox tray.
Yeah. That makes sense. I don't ever eat.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's
anyway, I leave everything in the floorboard. The issue is I have to leave the door open because there's no AC. So, you know, when you're working it and you're on hills and shit, everything keeps falling out.
I've had my phone fall out several times, and I've never ran over it, but I've found my phone in the mud like 30 minutes later.
Dude, yeah, you probably will know that you said that. But now, so I'm like, well, shit, everything's going to be falling out because I can't put it in my tray. Well, I'm going to have an air conditioner so I can leave the door shut like I'm not a pilgrim, and I won't have to worry about everything falling out of it. So that's the plan for the old 3
Yeah, you got most of your glass. I mean, a little, it's cracked.
No, so there's been a new windshield sitting on my porch for probably 3 or 4 months now.
That's how I was the dozer. It took me 3 months to get around changing out the window.
Honestly, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I figured I'd let myself abuse it a little bit longer before I put a new windshield.
Well, as soon as you put it in, you're going to break it.
Yeah. Well, so I took it to a job, and I was like, I know I'm going to take care of this thing. I'm not going to break anything. I get to the job, and one of the first things I do is grab a tree like this big and yank it straight into the...
It's the little ones that always break windows. Look at that. Now I'm blocking the sun. The sun's brutal in there. You couldn't even see me.
You want to move? Anyway, yeah, we'll see how the Traco does with the inverter. I'll let you know. I'll give you a heads up.
Try it out.
Yeah, holler at me and see.
A lot of Bondo on that thing.
No, this came that way from Caterpillar in Japan.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's what they use. That thing got beat to hell. It was at a shell pit with every Tom, Dick, and Harry running it to load trucks.
It really doesn't have that many hours on it.
7,000, I think.
Yeah, I had one with 14,000, original engine, original everything.
Man, I hope I can get that out of that thing. It mechanically seemed
321.
321.
Yep. Thing ran great. I sold to a guy that's still running. He's had it for over a year and a half now.
I need a dozer. Find me a dozer.
I'll find you a dozer.
Like about 30 grand or so, give or take.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if I bought it for 10.
No, not really. I mean, looking for at least a little bit of a buddy deal, maybe. All right, what are you headed now?
I'm gonna go get some dinner and go to the hotel, and then go pick up a dozer that doesn't run.
Yeah, find me one that does run.
All right.
Appreciate it, man. We'll
next time.
Yeah, we'll get Starnes on another one, and then hopefully we'll.
It'll probably be remote. I'm not down here for everyone.
Yeah, he will. He just likes to play hard to get.